Warning. This episode talks about the 2018 Canadian World Junior sexual assault case in detail, and as such, contains strong sexual language not suitable for all viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Defenseman picks it up, passes it up to the forward.
With like 7 seconds to go.
Coast to coast.
Camembert. I'm trying to work it out.
I can just go for a little stroll.
Yeah. Cheese.
Max Goof was my first crush. He's a dog.
Are we having fun though?
Yeah.
Living the dream with the boys at Chucky Slick.
That's funny. You're a funny guy.
That would be.
The Edmonton Oil.
Dude, I touched my eye again! It hurts!
Honolulu.
You guys are
so loud for people who are agreeing with each other.
Yeah.
God, I do hate the player.
Nice. That was awesome. I'm going to actually put that in the show.
Yeah.
Just the dual clap. Welcome back to another episode of Coast to Coast. It is Jess, Bill, and I today.
Yeah, emphasis on the "t" today. Coast to coast.
Coast to coast.
There's
There's two of us.
Exactly.
Coast to coast.
So you get it. You get it.
Man, our chemistry's off the charts. And on this episode, last week, it was still up in the air whether or not Montreal or Columbus was going to make the playoffs. It ended up being Montreal, so we're going to talk about some progressions in the NHL playoffs, some progressions in the WHL playoffs, a bunch of NHL firings, and we are also going to touch on the 2018 sexual assault case. There'll be a disclaimer at the start of the episode. Just saying that we are going to get into that, as well as when it actually is, when we actually are talking about it. I'll just put a graphic just saying trigger warning up until we start talking about it, up until we stop talking about it. But before we get into that, let's get into the NHL action.
Yeah, man. You gotta love playoff hockey.
There's just no better time to be a hockey fan.
Especially like not even just on the NHL, like we're having like 3 or 4 games a day of intense first round playoff hockey with matchups that are honestly incredible, especially that LA Edmonton matchup. Like that's something we've never seen before.
Do we want to start there? Do you want to start with LA Edmonton?
I was just gonna say on top of that, we also have the WHL playoffs. We have AHL playoffs that have kicked off with a thrilling triple overtime game that I ended up staying up to watch. But yeah, on the NHL, some of these matchups are incredible. And yeah, we can start with LA and Edmonton, a matchup that we've never seen before in NHL history.
No, definitely not last year.
Definitely not the last 5 years.
Or the year before that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Although the start of it has looked a little different than past few years.
Yeah.
LA Kings carrying into Game 3 a 2 game lead on the series. The first game was a little bit pretty balanced, I would say. I mean, it was 6-5, so both goalies not really figuring it out. And then Game 2 yesterday, just a blowout 6-2 win from the Kings.
LA in the first game kind of came off firing and then let their foot off the gas pedal a bit before Philip Deneau scores the winner. Not long left in the game. They win 6-5. And then last game, they kind of left no doubt.
Yeah, they made sure to not make the same mistakes as they did the first game, for sure. Let's talk about
Andrei Kuzmenko.
Andrei Kuzmenko. Holy cow. Gets bumped from Calgary, then bumped from Philadelphia, all the way to LA. That's a lot of plane rides and not a lot of time. And now he's got, a goal and an assist. Opens the scoring for the series against a team that was, again, 1 goal away from winning the Stanley Cup. That's just game 1. And then game 2...
He has 5 points in these 2 games.
5 points in 2 games for Andrei Kuzmenko. Are the Flames kicking themselves a little bit for that one? He didn't play well when he was here in Calgary.
No. I liked him when he was here in Calgary, but...
He was a fan favorite for sure, but...
Like... The thing that I kind of think about with players like Andrei Kuzmenko is he's a really, really talented player. And this is going to sound really, really, really weird as I'm kind of describing it, but let's say, for example, that you're making a cake.
I don't do that very often.
Let's say, for example, that Mackie's making a cake.
Okay.
And for some reason, Mackie decides to put bell peppers into this cake.
That doesn't make sense.
Bell peppers aren't a bad ingredient. They're just not fit for what is supposed to be being made here.
Dang, you smart.
Andrei Kuzmenko is a bell pepper in the Flames' cake.
Yeah. And now the LA Kings are putting together quesadilla.
Kuzmenko, exactly.
And
They're
Kuzmenko's
cooking up some
sticking-
fajitas, and
yeah.
bell peppers really work in those.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Calgary, Kuzmenko in Calgary didn't work. That's not to say that Kuzmenko is a bad player. He's just he just didn't work in their system.
Yeah.
And that happens all the time.
It seems to happen a lot with the Flames, though.
Yeah.
It seems to happen a lot with the Flames, though, and obviously some of it was probably because of Sutter when he was here and his different, actions towards players. But now that we have a little bit more of what seems like a happier locker room with Ryan Huska and stuff, like I think we're seeing less of it, but it's still there. Obviously, we see Andrei Kuzmenko, who people love, and we throw him away like the inside of a bell pepper, which you don't put in fajitas or cake.
Yeah. Just the seeds. Who wants
Just
that?
the seeds.
Who wants seeds? No
Unless
one
you're
eats
planting
seeds.
more bell peppers.
Unless you want to make a cake entirely of bell peppers, then you're onto
bell
something.
pepper cake. But yeah, the Oilers, they have their issues. Obviously, we've talked a lot about it. We've talked about how. I've talked a lot about how I don't love the leadership team of the Oilers. I don't think it works. Maybe McDavid is less yelly these days.
Maybe.
In which case, that's not working either. But the Oilers, they've always been like that. They're outscoring. They try to outscore their problems, but that doesn't really work too great when you're only putting 25 shots on goal and the other guy's putting 30. And you have Mr. Stuart Skinner. Speaking of Stuart Skinner, he gets pulled. What was that? Halfway through the third yesterday.
I was watching the game at work. He allowed a goal on 3 shots. Did Calvin Pickard? He played 9 minutes.
Yeah, Calvin only played 9 minutes. Do you think we see Calvin start tomorrow? Picard did great for them last year in the playoffs.
Yeah,
They rode him for a while.
they did. Yeah.
So
I think. Do you start him in game 3, or do you start Skinner in game 3, and then if they lose that one, do you start him in game 4?
I think that's a lot of pressure to put on
That's a lot
Picard.
of pressure to put on him.
You're looking for a change of scenery because you're coming back home now. You're not playing in LA. You're playing in Edmonton. Switch up the scenery even more. I would say you throw Pickard in there, especially after, because so Skinner lets in. He only saved 23 saves in the second game, and he saved. Where'd my tab go? Did I close it? Oh my god, I closed it.
Oh no. What you
But he did not save much on the other. I just said it. They had 30 shots on goal, so he saved like 20 of those as well. So he's I don't know. He needs a bigger mustache, I think.
He did. So Stuart Skinner did play more games at home. He also has a way better win percentage at home too. At home this season, he played 29 games and he's 16-8-1.
Yeah.
On the road, he played 22 games and he's 10-10.
I mean, that's the
And
other
2.
thing too, right? LA has, from what I remember seeing, LA has
best.
a really good,
Yeah.
the best home game play. So maybe Edmonton throws a wrench in this series when we go back up north, up the QE2, which is not the route that they would take from LA.
I think that they start Skinner in 3.
You think they keep Skinner?
I think
And
they
then
keep Skinner because of how well he's done at home.
You think he's on a tight leash though? Like
Yes,
he lets
I
in,
think he's on an incredibly tight leash.
he lets in 3.
If
and then
he
you
lets
put
in 3, he's
Picard in?
gone.
You put Picard in?
Yeah.
I don't disagree with you there. I think you might as well switch everything up and throw Picard in there just to start it, give him a shot. Because again, he did great for them last year.
A couple of the goals that Skinner let in last night were kind of what you expect him to do. I just looked at the Edge goal visualizer for Kuzmenko's goal last night, and he's behind the net, passes up top to Kempe, who shoots it off the backboards, and then Kuzmenko's right alongside the net there, and they whacks it in.
right there to capitalize. I mean, yeah, that's a tough one for a goalie, but this is the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yeah.
You're going to be almost every shot you're going to face is going to be a tough shot. And you got to be.
And that was the 3-0 goal. At some point, you do need a save.
Yeah, you got to be better than that, and especially when you're on a team that's looking to be better than they were last year, and the only way you be better than you were last year for the Edmonton Oilers is score that 2 more goals in the Cup final.
In the Senators and Leafs series, we're not moving off the Oilers Kings yet, but in the Senators and Leafs series, the Senators were heavily penalized in the first game.
Yep.
In this game, the Kings had 5 power play opportunities to the Oilers 3.
And those are where the only 2 goals came, hey?
3 were scored on the power play. Oh, no, yeah. Edmonton didn't,
Edmonton didn't score
any on their power plays
King
at all.
scored 3 times on the power play.
Yeah.
1 from Kuzi, 1 from Kopitar, and 1 from Brant Clark. Not to be confused with Brad Clark.
No.
Different guy.
Different Clark.
Different BC.
One plays hockey. One watches and announces hockey.
Does he announce hockey too?
No, sorry. One's play-by-play for hockey. Wasn't Brad Clark the play-by-play guy for Hitman?
No.
Oh, brother Brad Curl.
That's Brad Curl. Another BC.
I'm mixing up people's. Yeah, might be.
Lots of guys just involved in this situation.
So maybe it's a question of discipline, because if the Kings don't score those 3, then it's suddenly 3-2 and you're still in this.
Yep, absolutely. That being said, also you had 3 power play opportunities too,
and you didn't
didn't capitalize on that. It's going to be hard when you have Evander Kane on the ice to not be getting penalties. And
have you watched the Kings games at all?
No.
Okay, so friend of the show, Landon Brown, and I have been active in the chat about the harmonica.
I have seen
anthems.
that. I have seen that. That's weird. What's Edmonton gonna do? So now here's the question: what does Edmonton do now as they come up to play up here?
So they're gonna.
What does Edmonton do?
They're going to do the basic thing. But
nothing weird.
No, like imagine if they brought out just like a fleet of bagpipes or something.
That's what I was thinking. Bagpipes too.
Yeah.
I was thinking bagpipes too. I mean, the harmonica thing was cool for the first game. I don't think they needed to be brought back for the second game.
I mean, it worked for the first game.
It worked for them the second game too.
Yeah.
But
So I mean, if this does end up
they're
not
traveling
being a
with
sweep,
the team now.
if it ends up not being a sweep and they go back to LA, they're probably going to be there for Game 5.
That would be absolutely ridiculous. I think. I don't think I could possibly bet on Connor McDavid and Draisaitl not getting
No.
swept.
There's no
way McDavid and Draisaitl let that happen.
Yeah.
There's no way. That being said, this is going to be a pretty steep hill for the Oilers to dig out of.
Getting into our next topic here, still on NHL playoffs. We don't have time to get into every series just because some have played 3, some have played 1, and it's not really worth it.
Which one are you picking?
I was actually going to ask you a question.
Oh.
So the Oilers are down 2-0.
Yep.
The St. Louis Blues are down 2-0.
Yep.
The Ottawa Senators are down 2-0. The Montreal Canadiens are down 2-0.
And the New Jersey
And
Devils.
the New Jersey Devils are also down 2-0. Who do you think has the best chance of turning this around?
I think the only team. I don't know. There's 2 teams that have any chance, and that would be Edmonton and Ottawa, I think. I think Edmonton probably has the best chance of climbing out of this. Again, 2-0, it's doable. The Hitmen almost did it.
We'll get there.
But we'll get there. I think Ottawa could also do it. That series has been crazy. Like that, because you look at the games between LA and Edmonton and compare that to the games between Ottawa and Toronto.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of lopsided. It's the other way around. The first game was massacre from the Maple Leafs, and then Senators almost pull it out in overtime for game 2. So that could easily also be a 1-1 series.
Yeah.
Almost closer than the Edmonton series. I was expecting. I'm expecting more from Brady Tkachuk on that series. I think he's going to be. He needs to. I think he will step it up. And
He needs to turn to Matthew a bit.
He needs to be Brady Tkachuk.
Yeah.
And he needs to be a bull in a china shop.
Yeah.
And destroy people.
The Blues have kind of made their series with Winnipeg close, despite being down 2-0. The first game was 5-3. Second game was 2-1.
Yeah, same kind of thing. They kind of got in the flow of each other. I think Winnipeg's just too good there, though.
Yeah, I would. My answer for who has the best chance is probably both teams in the Western Conference.
St. Louis.
Yeah, just because if playoff Binnington can find his Four Nations Binnington again.
Yeah, I guess so. But I mean, it's a lot different to do that over 4 more games versus 1 game.
Regardless, I think that the top 3 is Edmonton, Ottawa, and St. Louis. Not exactly in that order.
Yeah.
I think Montreal and New Jersey are cooked.
I think, Montreal and New Jersey are cooked. Carolina's just so powerful right now, and so is Washington.
And there's
Washington's-
an even bigger hole on the New Jersey back end with Brendan Dillon and Jonas Siegenthaler and Luke Hughes now out of play as well.
Right.
So honestly, the New Jersey one might end up being a sweep.
I can see that being a sweep. I can see Montreal being a sweep too.
Yeah, they are going back to Montreal though, and maybe that's I think
The old Forum.
that's one of the toughest buildings to play
Absolutely.
in. So maybe Montreal can kind of will themselves to a win, maybe 2.
That's one thing I'm always so impressed with. I mean, by Canadian barns in general, but specifically Montreal and specifically Winnipeg. Like
How
that
loud they get.
barn in Winnipeg
Oh.
during a playoff game, I don't think there's anywhere else in the world I would rather be than in the whiteout.
You often
Like, holy cow.
a bunch of NHL players say like they try to like block out the noise.
Yeah. How?
Not a thing.
How do you
not a thing
do
in
that?
Winnipeg, not a thing in Montreal. You
You
can't.
can't do that. Which is crazy because wasn't it like just a few years ago that the Jets were like couldn't get anyone to come to their games?
Yeah, that was this season.
Yeah, yeah. Which is wild because
Yeah.
usually that happens when your team sucks. But now you're one of the best teams in the NHL and you still struggled. But now it's playoffs and now everyone cares. Yippee.
Yeah, and that's one of the loudest barns there.
Yeah, as it should be. I mean, that's such a cool team. I think. Again, I said they're going to win the cup, and I'm going to stay pat at that.
And before we jump to the WHL playoffs, I do want to talk about the Dallas and Colorado series real quick. Colorado winning the first
What
game
a
5-1.
fun series!
I don't know what it is. I said this on Armchair yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't know what this is about the Stars and the Avalanche in overtime.
What a fun series!
Last year, the Stars beat the Avalanche in overtime in, I think that was either game 6 or 7. This year, the Stars beat the Avalanche in overtime twice.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about Avalanche, just the Avalanche not being able to
Figure it out.
execute in overtime against the Stars. I don't think
It's
I'm worried
weird,
though.
yeah.
That's really weird, but I don't think I'm worried though. Let's see.
Honestly, I'm not too concerned about this series in general because I think I want this series to go 7 just so we get to watch more of these hockey games because these two teams are incredible and they put on shows. These are the most right now. I think this series is the most entertaining series in the playoffs right now. I think it's so banger.
So Dallas Stars, Colorado last year. Colorado did win the first game in overtime 4-3, and then they lost in double overtime in game 6, losing the series 2-1 to Dallas.
Double overtime. That's brutal.
So in 4 games they've won. In 4 games that went to overtime, they've won 1.
Yeah, that's brutal. But I mean, you can never count out the Avalanche, can
No.
you? Okay, especially now that El Capitan is back on the plate.
He hammered Rantanen.
Yeah.
Landeskog hammered Rantanen.
I didn't see it. Obviously, I didn't watch any of the games last night just because I was a little preoccupied, being sad. But I love that series. I'm gonna watch like every night. These are the games I have circled to go to make sure I have on.
Yeah.
So
Going in WHL playoffs.
yeah, I mean not really.
Yeah, but no.
The Calgary Heavens season comes to an end in excruciating fashion last night, losing 3-1 to the Lethbridge Hurricanes. Dave Adazinski with the only goal for the Calgary Hitmen, which was pretty exciting. Again, he was such a powerhouse this entire playoffs. Pretty heartbreaking, this one. It's this was a team that looked like they could crush it, and they made some big moves, gave away quite a bit of future for this year to make it. And then unfortunately Tanner Howe being injured and Daniel Hauser getting injured. I mean, you can see it happen there. Like when they got injured, things just started to fall apart for the Hitmen. The Lethbridge Hurricanes looked like just way more of a complete team. They were way more tactical. Like you could see it as soon as the Calgary Hitmen were on the offense, the defense just kept the entire Hitman team around the edges, and then as soon as someone had a look, somehow every one of the Lethbridge Hurricanes was just blocking the goal.
Converged, yeah.
And it was insane how quickly they were able to do that. Obviously, congrats to Braden Yager leading his team. But yeah, that was a heartbreaker. So all of a sudden, I'm a huge Gavin McKenna fan. I'm going to be cheering for the Medicine Hat Tigers going in just to kick out the Hurricanes. Obviously, Medicine Hat Tigers are now super well rested after sweeping PA. But yeah, not the way you want to end a season, obviously. But they put up a good fight. Carson Wetch in his post game said the resilience is incredible with those guys, and they're such a tight knit group of guys. I think that was the first Game 7 I've ever seen live. So that was kind of cool.
That's exciting.
That was kind of cool. And then obviously getting to see the handshake line at the end. It's cool. There's a bit of a difference when you watch the guys going through the handshake line, when you see guys like Yager meet up with guys like Yakimchuk and Kindle.
Okay.
There's a bit more like camaraderie and respect. Like I saw it during the line last night. Yager stopped a little longer with Kindle and had a little bit of a chat with him.
Oh, nice.
And I'm sure Ben and Brayden would never tell you what they actually said.
No.
I'm sure it was something like see you in the show.
Yeah.
The guys that are drafted, they know this isn't the end all be all. So it's a bit different for the guys that maybe don't have as big of a future in pro hockey. If this is like, if they're not going pro, if they're just going to go school or go or even be done. So that was cool to see. Obviously, hats off to Connor Vidston, Kalen Parker, and Daniel Hauser, our overagers who are moving on. Let me just pull up quick where they're going. Vidston has something. He was drafted by someone. I don't remember who. Let me pull that up. While all this loads, I'm going to do this all at the same time. So if you want to tap dance a little bit, that'd be sweet.
Yeah, absolutely.
CHL questions.
I wish I could have come out for the game last night. It would have been fun to actually feel the energy there.
That's another thing I'll get into. It was pretty incredible. I'll get into that in a sec too.
Just for a quick series kind of recap. So the Hurricanes go up 2-1 in the series, and then the series goes back. The series goes to Lethbridge, where Calgary steals those two, tying the series up at 2. Calgary wins Game 5 in overtime, 6-5, and they can't seem to seal the bag because of Hauser and other kind of...
Yeah, Hauser and Howe being out was unfortunate for sure.
So then Lethbridge ties the series back at home, and then Game 7 last night, Lethbridge wins 3-1 over the Hitmen.
Yeah, so that's unfortunate. Connor Hvidston, I believe Anaheim has his rights. He was drafted 139th overall. That's as far as I've gotten so far. Doesn't look like Daniel Hauser has some.
I don't think he did.
My computer's gonna explode.
And the other one's Callum Parker, yeah?
And Callum Parker, yeah.
Do you have that one up?
I have his elite prospects.
Okay.
Minnesota Wild. He's unsigned by the Minnesota Wild, but they have his rights, and nothing comes up for Daniel Hauser, which is unfortunate. I think.
No, has the rights then.
I know Hauser. He is committed to a school. I don't remember which one, but there's a couple Hitmen that are committed to that same school, so that's pretty exciting. University of Wisconsin, it tells me there. But yeah, the one thing that I was pretty same school that Talk is committed to as well.
Nice.
So that's pretty cool. Not that Talk is a 20-year-old. He'll be sticking around, I think. The other thing that I thought was pretty cool is the first bowl last night was pretty darn close to sold out.
Oh, nice.
But probably 40% were Lethbridge fans.
Oh,
It was brutal.
yeah.
And it was one thing like that I would like to see change a lot for the Hitmen, because it's been kind of that way throughout the regular season and the playoffs.
There's not a lot of backing.
It ends up being almost a 50, at least regular season, it was close to a 50-50 split between home teams and away teams, especially depending on the proximity of the team, especially Red Deer, Lethbridge, like those teams. But what Lethbridge did, they did the bus. You could buy a bus ticket from Lethbridge to Calgary. It comes with a ticket to the game. The Hurricanes organized it.
That's a pretty sweet deal.
You think the Hitmen did that for Lethbridge?
No shot.
They did not. And it's if you let them come into our house, why are we not going into their house?
Yeah.
And the energy was pretty good. Everyone was cheering on the Hitmen, but then you're letting guys like full Lethbridge like get ups come in with megaphones and stuff. And it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, there's got to be a rule for noisemakers. Like, I feel like there is. I feel like you can't bring in extra like amplification.
I'd have to research the
I mean, as long as it's not like
the dome policy.
I guess as long as it's not electronic or something, because it was just like a cone.
Yeah.
But that was kind of annoying and something that I would like to see change. I tried to get as many people out as I could, but
I tried.
I know you did. Merrick didn't.
Loser.
Douche.
Douche.
But yeah, so that's unfortunate.
One question I did want to ask, as someone who has been following the Hitmen very, very, very close to this season. So last year they missed the playoffs.
Yep.
Year before that they lost in 5 to the Red Deer in first round.
In the first round, yep.
I know you don't really want to talk about this, but is there a feeling of, like, how do I word this? With recent performances in mind, as far as like cross season goes, so you lost in 5, then you didn't make it, and you made it to the second round here.
Yeah.
Is there at least silver linings to pull from this?
Absolutely. And Carson got asked that as kind of similar question in his post game, and he said something about how important this was to the franchise, not just to the players. And it is huge for the franchise. This is the farthest in playoffs we've gone since 2019. And I think the only time we've gone farther than this was in 2010 when we won the whole thing. I think I might be completely wrong on that. But yeah, it's huge, and especially like you look at our overagers in Vidston, Parker, and Hauser. Obviously, Hauser was super important during the regular season, but we still got through this. Oh, there you go. You proved me wrong. Oh no, that's 2013.
Yeah, that's 2010.
Oh, that is 2010. Yeah, so when we won the whole thing. But so obviously Hauser was incredible for us in the regular season, but then he had that injury, so we had to rely on Miller's, which worked. Like Miller played great. Vidston was a great offensive power, but losing those 3, I think it doesn't hit the team as much as losing your 3 overagers normally would.
2013, they got to round 3, lost in 7 to the Oil Kings.
Oh, brutal. Okay, so I was almost right.
Yeah.
And then, but yeah, I think they're going to be just as good of a team next year. Hopefully we don't lose some of the other extra guys.
They got to third round 2015 too.
Oh, wow.
Lost in third round to Brandon, who
There
then
you
got
go.
swept.
Oh, by Kelowna.
Yeah.
Who was on Kelowna at that time? Can you see the rosters?
I'm sure I can find out.
2015 roster.
2015 playoffs.
Let's see. Let's have some fun here.
Nick Merkley.
Oh, there's one. We'll talk about him later.
Whoa.
Costco. Justin Kirkland.
Hey, Justin Kirkland.
And Tyson Bailey.
Leon Draisaitl.
Ah, yeah, that'll do it. And then on defense.
Josh Morrissey.
Yeah, there you go.
Ooh, Rufa.
And then that one player, goalies.
Hey, Jake Morrissey.
Jake Morrissey.
And then the one player we'll talk about. Do you want to get into it now?
Yeah, I'm done. I'm
Okay.
pretty
One
much
player
done.
that
Go
we're
ahead
kind
and
of
go.
dancing on now.
Mr. Dylan Dubé.
Dylan Dubé was also on that 2015 Kelowna Rockets roster, and with that, trigger warning.
I will say that was a pretty good
Segue?
segue.
Yeah.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, unfortunate, but
good.
I mean, that's probably the easiest way we could start talking about this.
This is crazy.
So a couple weeks ago, it was kind of announced that the court sessions, the case would be, the first round of court hearings would be kind of around the first round of the playoffs.
Yep.
That case, of course, being Canada's 2018 World Junior kind of sexual assault case involving, let me get the names up
I got
here.
it.
You got them? Go ahead.
McLeod, Alex Fermenton, Dylan Dubé, Cal Foote, and Carter Hart.
And they had their first session yesterday. Or 2 days ago.
2 days ago.
2 days
I think
ago, sorry.
yesterday was the third session.
Yeah. And
they're now under like a publicity ban right now. So there's not a ton of information that we have. Because basically anything that's talked about without the jury involved, we won't hear. We're not allowed to hear.
yeah.
Apparently there was some big thing that did happen on the first day. That again they didn't tell anyone about. But apparently there was something that the prosecution had to talk to lawyers about. I'm curious to see what that was.
So the jury, it was announced that the jury is made up of, I think, 11 men and 11 women and 3 men. They're also going to, the prosecution, I believe, is also calling, lawyers have compiled a list, to quote an article from Rick Westhead on TSN, of prospective witnesses in the case. It's basically the entire 2018 roster. Includes Taylor Radis, Drake Batherson, Robert Thomas, Sam Steele, Maxime Comtois, Boris Kachuk, Brett Howden, Joanna Gadjevich, Dante Fabro, Tyler Steenbergen, Connor Timmins, Jake Bean, and Cale McCarr. A few of those names currently in the playoffs, so they'll probably just Zoom call in, I would imagine.
I don't know if they can. I think they might have to show up if they get called. I'm curious to see if they adapt trial dates to accommodate Cale and accommodate the guys that are still in the playoffs, because obviously
the trial's going to go on for a while, so
it's going to be a long time.
I imagine that they will try to, but this really isn't in the NHL's control at all.
No.
The plaintiff, EM, as addressed in court documents, and her team kind of. Have you seen a lot of what was said?
Yeah, I've got some of it pulled up here.
Okay, so
some of it's pretty brutal.
Yeah, this will be kind of disconnected a bit because there's a lot has happened over this case. But I guess we'll start with a tweet from Rick Westhead. Crown Attorney Heather Donkers addressed the jury of 11 women and 3 men, making details behind the criminal allegations against 5 former members of Canada's 2018 World Junior team public for the first time. Just jumping ahead to later in the tweet there. Donkers also alleged that McLeod, Carter Hart, and Dylan Dubé obtained oral sex without consent, that Dubé slapped EM's naked buttocks without consent, and that without her consent, Foote did the splits, quote unquote, over EM's face while she lay on the ground, quote, grazing his genitals over her face, end quote. The alleged sexual assaults took place in room 209 at the Delta Hotel in London, Ontario in 2018.
Insane. I also had my dates confused. For some reason, I thought it happened immediately after the World Juniors tournament.
No.
But it happened later on. They had their gala.
It was like a golf gala or something.
That, which is also kind of makes it weird. I thought it was partying right immediately after winning the gold medal.
No.
So that's kind of interesting.
Quoting now a CTV article, Donkers went on to say that the jury would see copies of those text messages, messages that were sent in the team's group chat, which include messages Mr. McLeod sent to his teammates in a group chat. I'm trying to find the exact, because there was one picture one screenshot of an article that mentioned.
I've got one quote up here right now that says, "What text messages that McLeod said, what can you do to make this go away?" That's probably not a great thing to say.
No.
Yeah.
That's not the one I was That's not the one I was looking to bring up. The one I was looking to bring up said something to the tune of, like, who wants a three-way real
Yeah,
quick?
that
room
one too.
209.
That one too. While she's just kind of in shock.
Yeah.
It's so tough to talk about. I don't. Again, we don't have all the information. I'm curious to see what some of these other text messages are. Obviously, we're probably not going to get to see them, but I think like those are going to be the one. Like what wrecks them. I think it's going to be tough for them. They're not going to. I mean, saying that like, tough is the wrong word. I think they're going to end up in quite a bit of trouble. Not that they already aren't. I don't know how to talk about this stuff.
No, it's tough.
Don't cancel me.
It looks like it's just now being reported that a mistrial has been declared in the sexual assault case, and it looks like trial resumes Friday.
What?
A trial, Merrick sent something in the Coast chat just now. I'm trying to verify it. But apparently Rick Westhead said a mistrial has been declared in the sexual assault trial of 5 former members of Canada's 2018 World Juniors team in London, Ontario. The reasons for the mistrial cannot be reported because of a publication ban. The trial resumes Friday. So that's probably why the judge had to adjourn. Just saying.
I guess so, yeah.
I imagine that's probably what it was about. Just jumping back to that CTV News article, you'll also hear what that McLeod went into the hallway, invited people into his room where EM still lay naked under the covers of the bed. Donkers said, before long, more and more men began arriving in room 209. There were up to 10 men inside the standardized hotel room at different points in the night.
Like, these are big dudes. Like, they're scary dudes.
They're hockey guys. Like they're
big hockey
none of them
guys.
are small.
All, like, pretty well known at the time because it was immediately after a World Juniors win. Like, I don't know, man.
We'll probably try and dedicate an episode just to this because there's a lot that led up to this. There was Hockey Canada appearing in front of the Canadian Parliament for meetings about like hockey's culture, which also went disastrously. Yeah, but we couldn't really move on, or we couldn't really avoid this without talking about it. So, we'll probably once a week, probably come back here every week just with kind of updates about it.
As we learn more, I guess. I mean,
Yeah.
again, publication ban, there's not much. I mean, even this apparently there's a mistrial, so nothing's going to happen for a few days anyway. Yeah.
Per an article now on Radio Canada, over several hours, according to a statement of claim, the group of hockey players engaged in a series of degrading sexual acts, including placing genitals on the victim's face, slapping her buttocks, spitting and ejaculating on her, and engaging in vaginal intercourse while she was too intoxicated to consent. The young woman reported that at some points she was crying and tried to leave the room, but was, quote, directed, manipulated, and intimidated into remaining, end quote, the statement of claim said.
I mean, it's a talking about the mistrial now. Like, it's tough because we are in Canada, right? We're surrounded by hockey players. For some reason, we treat them like gods, and you've got all these jurors. Like, how are you supposed to find a jury who's never heard of Carter Hart, right? How are you supposed to find a jury who's not a fan of, who didn't celebrate when we won that gold medal, right? Like, it's. I can't imagine that's an easy jury to find. That's probably what led up to a mistrial is the prior knowledge of that kind of stuff.
Before we jump off of this, just kind of encapsulating the whole case or what it's going to be about, really. A different article by Rick Westhead written yesterday and released on Noon Mountain. Donkers told a jury of 11 women and 3 men in Ontario Superior Court in London, Ontario on Wednesday that the case against McLeod, Alex Formanton, Dylan Dubé, Califoot, and Carter Hart, quote, is about consent, and equally important it is about what is not consent.
Yeah.
So this is going to be I don't even know where to go with this. This is going to be, again, like I imagine, like our hearts go out to EM. incredibly brave coming forward
Yeah.
about all this.
Yeah, that's a tough thing to do, especially like now that most of these guys, 4 out of 5 of the guys are now, I don't want to say stars in the NHL, but Carter Hart definitely was.
Yeah, I would imagine that this getting kind of away from the hockey and the case here. Also, thank you to Rick Westhead for covering this.
That's the
Because
other thing.
He also covered the Cal Beach Blackhawks
Why
thing.
is no one else? Like, why is there there's so many journalists and broadcasters in the sport of hockey in Canada. Why do we got one guy? I mean, I guess it's a criminal case. It's not necessarily a sporting case, right? But you'd think you'd want to investigate more and be the journalist on the case, almost looking to bring integrity to the environment of hockey, right? Like, like obviously there's the non-sport journalists who are doing this, right? And that's great too. They're doing great work.
Yeah.
But the fact there's only one sports guy kind of main heading this one.
I don't even think that Rick Westhead's a sports guy.
Is he not?
I don't think he is.
TSN senior correspondent.
But what does he typically cover though? Because I seem to remember something about.
Award-winning investigative journalist. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
fair
he's
enough.
not a sports reporter. He's just an investigative journalist.
He writes for TSN, reports on Sportsnet. Takes on controversial issues in sports and sports business. Prior to joining TSN, Westhead served as a foreign affairs writer for the Toronto Star, where he also covered sports business. Fair enough.
So he's not he's not a sports reporter in the way that.
He's a sports journalist.
Yes.
Yeah. A sports investigative journalist. But I can also see how, like, the guys on Sportsnet don't want to kind of really affiliate themselves with this kind of thing.
I don't know. I just wanted to make sure we talk about the court case a bit before we kind of keep going with the show. And yeah, we'll keep our eye on it. I imagine maybe in the off season I'll do like a deeper dive, spanning back to the Kyle Beach stuff, which I know doesn't involve Hockey Canada, but kind of plays a part. Yeah,
It
not
just
really
kind of it puts a light on the side of hockey that no one really talks about, like the Kyle Beach stuff, and now this, and it's a big thing that definitely needs to change. Where, I mean, I guess we see it changing. Obviously, they're under trial, so
yeah.
if this had happened probably 15 years ago, probably nothing would have happened. So
If you obviously were sexually assaulted, please do reach out.
Yep.
I can't imagine how hard it would be to do that. Obviously, it's easier for me to say reach out than for whoever to actually do it, but there is support. So please, if this did happen to you, please speak out about it.
Of course.
No real easy way to move off of that, but we do have a couple other topics to cover. I didn't want to save this for the last show because then that'd be a tough way to end the show. Jumping to the Women's World Championships.
World Championships. So how I understand it is the way IIHF does it is kind of like soccer where there's relegation. So I want to find who got relegated.
That I don't know, but since our last show was on the 16th, so they were the quarterfinals. Finland beat Sweden, the States beat Germany, Czechia beat Switzerland, and Canada beat Japan. That was something we weren't overly worried about.
Yeah.
Then in the semifinals, the States beat Czechia and Canada beat Finland, which once again brings the finals down to Canada and the United States.
Oh, I've seen this one before.
And in this edition, the United States wins in overtime.
Boo. Pretty done with hockey over the past week. It's been a It's been a rough week, okay? The Flames are out. Hitmen are out. Team Canada didn't even win.
The States jump out to 2-0 lead in the second. Canada scores 2 of their own to tie it up. Hockey would continue into the third, where Taylor Heisey scores on the power play. Sarah Fillier scoring to tie it up again. And then in overtime,
Tessa Janicki and Taylor Heist.
Tessa Janicki off the back of Taylor Heisey scores.
I'm looking at the standings here. Switzerland and Hungary both tied with 0 points, so I don't know who's going to get relegated. Probably both of them? No.
It tends to be typically one, but I'm sure we can find out. Interesting point about the game, though, is that Anne-Renee Desbiens, goaltender of the Canadiens, played the full game, and the States kind of split time. Erin Frankel played 44 minutes, and Gwyneth Phillips played 32.
Oh, okay, so Switzerland and Hungary would play to see who gets relegated. Where is that game?
Switzerland and who?
Switzerland and Hungary.
No clue. Have they even played it yet? Is more my
Well,
question.
the tournament's over. I'd assume they would have played it.
There's a lot of dead air. I'm just going to keep going here.
Yeah.
So Gwyneth Phillips went into the net for the States with about 4 minutes into the third period, and then carried them the rest of the way. Congrats to the States. Kind of sad that, obviously, kind of sad that Canada didn't win, but it comes down to Canada and U.S. again.
Yeah, like it usually does. I mean, it's kind of like LA Kings and Edmonton playing it together.
We're just going to do this forever.
Yeah, over and over and over again.
I'm kind of curious how the 2024 one ended, and Canada beat the States in overtime.
Same score?
6-5.
No, 6-5. It's a couple more goals. Kind of based on how I'm seeing. How does this work? So whoever gets relegated will be replaced by Austria. Austria will be coming up because they won in Division 1A. And then the winner for Division 1B was Italy. So that's kind of cool.
Good for them.
Division 2A was Spain. Division 2B was Australia. You want to guess who Division 3A was? You're not going to guess it.
Greece.
Lithuania.
Never would have.
And then Division 3B was Bulgaria. So good job to those guys, too. All getting to move up. Another fun fact, in 2024, the Division 2B winner was North Korea.
Huzzah.
Who got moved up, I guess. I wish I had more information on this because I want to know, but I don't know. So there's that. Great.
2023, the U.S. beat Canada in the finals. 2022, Canada beat the U.S. in the finals.
Oh, Norway and Hungary both got relegated.
Dang, a double relegation? No way.
Because they were tied. Oh, no, they weren't tied. I don't know how any of this works.
They weren't tied, but they were.
I don't know. How did Switzerland make it to the quarterfinals with 0 points, but Norway gets relegated with 3 points? What? Who makes these rules?
Who knows?
Who does this?
And our last topic for today before we leave.
A bunch of firings, eh?
A bunch of firings. So the Ducks fired Greg Cronin, who has been pretty widely hated. The Kraken fired Dan Bilesma. The New York Rangers are not renewing their contract with GM Lou Lamoriello. And also, per an article by Josh Wegman yesterday, Cam Neely is still deciding if he'll extend Don Sweeney as Bruins GM.
So
the biggest...
Bilsma's the 8th NHL coach fired this season. I'm just seeing this on NHL. That's a lot of firings.
The biggest no duh is the Anaheim Ducks and Greg Cronin. He was widely hated, especially in the locker room, so it's not surprising that he was let go.
They were also like bad.
They also were kind of bad.
80 points.
Was he the eighth? Was Bosman the 8th head coach that was fired?
That's according to this article by NHL.com.
Do they list who else was?
Jim Montgomery from the Boston Bruins.
Yep.
Drew Bannister from the St. Louis Blues.
Yep.
Luke Richardson from the Hawks.
Sure.
Derek Lalonde from the Detroit Red Wings. John Tortorella from the Philadelphia Flyers.
Yep.
And Greg Cronin from the Anaheim Ducks. And Peter Laviolette.
Right. Yeah,
That
and
seems-
also Laviolette was fired, and their GM had just signed a multi-year extension. So I guess we see where
New York's loyalties lie.
Rangers ownership likes.
Yeah. And it's not Peter Laviolette
No, it's not.
or Jacob Trouba.
And I was thinking, I brought this up on Armchair Again. Give it a watch. I'm on there.
Yeah.
That the past few head coaches for New York has been guy who yells a lot, guy who yells a lot, guy who yells a lot, and guy who yells a lot.
So John Tortorella, welcome to the New York Rangers.
So Tortorella, I mean, you might go back to New York there, my guy. Maybe it's just a case of New York needing someone who doesn't yell a lot.
Are there NHL head coaches that don't yell?
Every
time I see people on the bench, they're yelling.
They all yell, but like some yell more than others.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like we know John Tortorella is a bit of a hard ass.
Yeah, really?
So-
Yeah, a little bit. Eh?
So like there are coaches that are easier than not.
Get Sutter in there.
Yeah, that'll fix it. Sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's a barrel of laughs.
He'll be nice. Maybe he's had a change of heart.
Maybe he's had a change of heart. He hasn't. I don't think he has.
No.
And if you want to tap dance while I try and find a fun story.
Yeah, let's find a fun story. I don't know any of these people, so there's that. Looking at like kind of the rankings, I'm not really surprised by any of them. They're all pretty bad, especially being like a head coach of like a 06, like original 6 team. Like you need to continue on the tradition. So, and most of these teams are 06 teams that are being let go, firing their coaches. Which I mean, this is there's a record I think this year for playoffs it's the first time the Hawks, Bruins, and Red Wings didn't make playoffs, like in history, that one of those 3 teams isn't in playoffs, which is crazy.
It is.
So if you're a part of that, I mean, yeah, you're probably going to lose your job or get like a slap on the wrist. But that's all I got for tap dancing, Alex. I'm losing it here.
I did want to. This is where we'll end the show today. Welcome back, Gabriel Landeskog.
Yes. Yes. Did he do anything?
Hasn't played since 2022 due to a leg injury, I believe. Yeah, because
after winning the cup.
Yeah, he won the cup, and during that cup run, he got cut with his skate.
What a good-looking dude.
And he never made it back until last night.
Did he do anything? He did not score. That's all I got.
He did not score. Yeah, that's it.
Oh! I just found the hit on Rantanen. I want to see this. First shift. Oh, and I'm using an ad blocker because you run too many ads. Oh, that wasn't that big of a hit.
No, it wasn't. But like,
the
just see him get any amount of physical.
Yeah, I mean, it's super
Like-
dope. But like the headline says, Landeskog drills former teammate Rantanen in first shift back from injury. That was not.
It wasn't a drill.
He like
it was
knocked him over.
It was a moderate
He
bump.
was like, get out of my way. It was a decent hit. It was a fine hit. It's okay.
I'm sure Casey Freeman loved that his kids made him a sign.
So 1,032 days between games.
Mm-hmm. Man's been out of the game for a minute.
Unbelievable.
Got a standing ovation.
Of course.
Of course he did. So I just want to say welcome back to the NHL and welcome back to playoffs, Gabriel Landeskog. And that is where we will leave things for today.
Yeah, we've got Jets taking on the Blues tonight. We have the Golden Knights and Wild in Game 3. Maple Leafs and Senators in Game 3. Hopefully Ottawa can get out of their 2-0 hole. Panthers and Lightning in Game 2. Again, very weird that some people are going to be playing Game 4 tomorrow and one are playing Game 2. Anyway, and then I think that's all we got. Oh, no. Yeah, that's all we got.
Yep.
So go Jets, go.
Panthers Lightning at 4:30 Mountain. Leafs Senators at 5 Mountain. Golden Knights and Wild at 7 Mountain. And Jets Blues at 7:30 Mountain time.
I'm curious now if Ottawa does call on
Cardi Yakimchuk?
I'm probably not to play, but to just go hang out, healthy scratch him because they can. Why
Yeah, I
wouldn't they?
think when they came to town that, like, I think when the Senators came to town, like, Yakimchuk made an appearance in their locker room and kind of shook hands.
Oh,
and
for sure.
So they all know him really well.
Yeah.
So I'm sure.
I mean, they loved him in preseason, so
Yeah.
I'd be curious to see what happens with the guys that are like on there. One brief thing that I forgot to mention on Hitman Corner, we were awaiting the U18 World Championship roster. Obviously, they were kind of waiting to see what Ben Kindle's call was gonna be after the game last night. He got offered a spot. I know that for sure. He must have just said no. I was kind of expecting him to be hopping on a plane today. So
Also something
down to
that
Texas.
something that we kind of got to mention for the Hitman Corner.
That's exciting.
It was mentioned in the Coast chat that the Mount Royal University Cougars have a new goaltender.
Yes, and it is the old goaltender of the Calgary Hitmen, Ethan Buenaventura. I'm excited to see him in Cougars colors. That's gonna be fun to watch. He's pretty good.
Students get in for free if you want to come watch.
Yeah, students get in free every Cougar game. Hear this guy on the mic.
Actually, I won't be on the mic next year.
Do they need a new guy?
They already have a new guy.
Is it a night? Oh no, I can't say that online. Oh no.
Is that something I have to bleep out, or
Maybe.
did you? Okay, I'll listen to it back. I'm have to bleep that out if it made it through. But yeah, former Hitman Ethan Buenaventura is coming to Mount Royal University Cougars to play on the men's team. I said that I didn't know where Mount Royal was going with that one because their starter's coming back, and I believe their backup is also coming back as well. So I don't know exactly where Buenaventura is going to slot in.
They'll figure it out.
But it'll be nice to see him come in. I'm curious because also the Cougars have a former Hitman on their team. I'm curious if they ever played together.
Who is it?
Blake Stevenson. I imagine no.
I think yes. Yeah, I think Blake would have played with he was,
So
only,
Blake
he was only on a Hitman for like a
30,
little bit.
38 games in 21-22.
21-22, yeah, Buenaventura would have been there. Pretty sure.
Yep, he would
Braden
have.
Peters, Buenaventura.
So there is a bit of a common thread there.
Look at that team. That was a great team.
Fiddler Schultz, Chagall.
Chagall, Funk, Seatman, Stevenson, Galloway. I miss those guys.
Yep, so two Hitmen reuniting this coming season for the...
Mount Royal Cougars.
Oh, Tristan Zandy.
Hey, Tristan Zandy.
Current Cougar Tristan Zandy.
Oh, also a Cougar. There you go.
The more you know.
The more you know.
Well, in any event, that was just Phil and I for Coast 2. Coast this week. We'll see you guys next week, whether it's in studio or on Zoom. We've yet to find out.
We don't know.
Yeah, but enjoy the hockey. We see you guys in a week.
Go him and 8.